minutes. We'll see you then. Well, George, you had this extraordinary success with Culture Club. I read somewhere that, in fact, you became a millionaire more quickly than the Beatles did, or even Elvis Presley. But, I mean, there was a point, wasn't it, quite obviously for you, where it all, the happiness, the joy of being what you wanted to be turned sour. There was a moment in your life. What was that precise moment?
I don't think there was I mean, there's not a precise moment. It's sort of an ongoing thing, you know. It's like, people don't just become junkies. You know, it's like one thing to another, and another, and another. And in my case, I was always very anti-drugs. I mean, I used to walk out of the room if somebody smoked a joint, you know, and people used to hate me for it. It used to be like, you know, go away, don't come around, basically. I mean, I was always making comments about it, and then I tried it one day.
What did you try, first of all?
Marijuana, I tried first, and I liked it. It made me laugh. And then sort of like, actually, what actually happened with me is I went to Paris for Fashion Week, and I said to somebody, can you get me some smoke? And they said, no, we can't. And they gave me heroin, and I took it. And I went to sleep. And then sort of like somewhere else, you know, I got it again. See, what it is it's an ongoing thing, you know, people don't just fall into it. It's like, and, you know, I think in this business as well, you meet people who, you know, even now when I go to nightclubs, I mean, even though I've been through, like, sort of all that scandal with drugs, people come up to me and say, you know, do you want some ecstasy? Do you want some dope? You know, people do it, and you kind of look at them and you think, God. You know, it annoys you more when people do it after all that kind of, you know.
How bad did the habit become? What were you spending on it?
Well, I suppose about £800 a day.
£800 a day,
Yeah,
really?
a lot.
That's a heck of a habit.
And also, when you're drugged out, you buy anything. I mean, you go into, like, I went into Bloomingdale's in New York and bought 200 pairs of Calvin Klein underpants, you know, and ordered a lager and lime while I was in the sort of, you know, that's the sort of things you do. I mean, it sounds funny. I mean, you know, unfortunately, you know, I mean, to be honest, you know, there were times when I had a good time taking drugs, and I think people must be aware that people do enjoy it, you know. When I mean, I can look back and laugh at it, but I think the actual, I mean, it's sort of taking drugs is like easy. It's stopping taking them, you know. It's like sort of, that's the hard thing, and there seems more arguments to keep taking it than to stop taking it when you know what you've got to have to face. Because, I mean, you know, when you first start taking it, you think, I'm going to be fine, you know, I won't get withdrawal, you know, I won't be ill. And then when you actually go through it, it's probably, you know, it's just the most horrible thing.
Weren't you frightened, though? Were there moments when you were still on the drug where you actually paused and thought, well, really what I'm doing is actually killing myself?
No, I didn't care.
Didn't you? You didn't care? You thought the possibility?
I didn't. Really, to be quite honest with you, I mean, I think about it more now. It's really funny. I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I was saying, now I get much more scared of things, you know, like, I'm kind of like, oh, no. Whereas, you know, sort of, while I was taking drugs, it was like, you just think you're superior. You know, you think everybody else is an idiot and you're brilliant and you're going to change the world. And, you know, and then sort of like you realise you're not. And then it's sort of, but I mean, the great thing for me was that I had like lots of really sweet friends, you know, that, I mean, apart from my family who came in at the sort of deep end of it, but I always had people saying to me, you're really stupid. But it was, you know, I'd never done it, so it was like, oh, so exciting, you know. And I thought, and also I think probably there was a part of me, deep down, sort of rebelling against that goody-goody image that I had in the industry, you know. I'd never really been very rock and roll, so it was like my big statement, you know. And you know, and I'm the kind of person that does everything in extreme, and I did it publicly, you know.
Yes.
I mean, I was going out, you know, I did an interview on TV completely out of my head. I mean, I don't think people knew at the time, or maybe they did. My mum knew. She said, like, she went mental, and she's really annoyed. I actually fell asleep, you know.
What were you fell asleep during the interview?
Yeah.
Sorry. What did the host do you know?
He just kind of twitched about nervously, you know. There's something in the water.
But was it, I mean, you obviously, I mean, at that time too, was it at that time when you were taking drugs that friends of yours died because of drugs overdoses? Yes. I mean, so what effect did that have on you? There were, I think, two close friends.
Yeah, well, one wasn't so close, but I mean, it's still terrible to have someone die, you know, in your presence, you know, when you know them really well. I mean, you know,
Did that stop you short?
Well, I think when, you know, when I lost my friend Mark,
yeah,
that was the worst, because, you know, I just didn't think it would ever happen. He was just like the last person. I mean, you know, that's the thing, you know, you always think you're going to be the last person, and I don't think I am over it yet, you know. I think, you know, being honest, and I'm not looking for a sympathy vote or anything. I had a lot of psychological problems because of Mark, because, you know, he was such a great friend and such a lovely guy, you know, just, you know, he's just a fabulous person. But, you know, it was just, and the thing is, when it happened as well, we'd been arrested and they'd separated us, you know, and he'd been calling my house. And, you know, it's just things like that. It's like, what if I'd been there, you know, what if I could have helped? And I had to go through a lot of, you know, kind of thinking about that, and it was difficult.
But what was the point where you actually, and why, do you actually sit down and say, no, I've got to kick this habit?
Well, I think I did it several times, you know, kind of, and probably convinced myself that I meant it, you know. And it went on and on and on, and I'd stop for a while, and then you think, oh, just this once. You know, it's very similar to being an alcoholic, you know, and there's lots of disorders that people get. And I think when Mark died, when I actually found out that I got arrested, I got dragged off to the police station. I had to put up with a lot of abuse from the police all night. I mean, I'm not saying I'm any special person, because everybody does. And I just got home, and a friend of mine came round and said, you know, Mark's dead. And that was it.
What's the state of the game now then with you? I mean, you're on what, on drugs now? On the no, I mean substitute drugs.
I thought there was going to be no tricky question.
No, the substitute drugs, you know what I mean?
No, I was addicted to sleeping pills for a year after I came off heroin. You know, I couldn't go to sleep at night, and I started taking these sleeping pills, and they were good, you know, and it was like, it went on for a year. So I had to go, I went into a clinic about 3 months ago, and I just came off them. You know, I had to do it with medical help, because it's quite frightening.
Well, what's it like? Tell me about that. I mean, what's it like?
You get palpitations, and you think you're dying. You know, I mean, you really do think you're dying. And it's like, no matter what people say to you, you just think, no, I'm dying. And they say, no, you're not. I'll sit here with you. You know, I don't want to watch you die. And you say, no, I am. And you really, I mean, it's frightening, you know. But actually, when I went into this clinic, I realized that there was a lot of people that were in there, you know, exactly the same, you know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, when you're, I mean, you know, in my family, there's nobody else that's been through it. It's not a rock and roll family. So it was difficult when I went, you know, my parents were very concerned and everything, but I couldn't talk to them about it. And I couldn't, so you need to talk to other people so they can tell you that there is hope, and that you don't, you know, you don't always feel like that, and that you're going to feel great, and it'll be worth it when you get there, because you just think there's no point, you know. I might as well take them again. I'm too miserable.
Because your family did, in fact, played a significant part, didn't they, in your rehabilitation?
Yeah, they sort of, I mean, they planned to do all sorts of things. My mother was planning to kidnap me and take me to Ireland, like, you know, leave me tied up in a barn for a month, feed me giblets, and things like that. I mean, she actually had, like, you know, because, I mean, afterwards, they talk about it afterwards, and they say, Mama said, I was going to get you and put a sheet over your head and smuggle you for the border, and stuff. I mean, it's very sweet. But basically, it wasn't until, because my mother, you know, she used to come around all the time, you know, because they know, you know, I mean, they are really clever parents, and they really know when something dodgy is going on. And my mother just started appearing, you know, shopping, you know, things I don't eat, you know, sort of just kosher meat and stuff like that. It's like anything to come round, and she knew, you know, and she just kept on and on at me. There was a couple of times when she actually said, right, go to hell, you know, I don't care, but she was always there.
Of course,